In this video, I'm going to rank the movies in Phase 4. Movies only, no TV shows. This list won't include Werewolf by Night or the Guardians Holiday Special. That'll go into my Disney Plus show rankings, so let's get started. And before we head into it, y'all subscribe. Help me get to 250 followers. Coming in at number 8 is Thor: Love and Thunder. The reason I put this movie last is I felt like this had all the workings to be a great film. You have several things going on. We have Gorr essentially questioning religion and gods, Jane Foster experiencing cancer, and Thor still recovering from grief and trying to find his purpose and fulfillment in life now that all his family is gone. We just saw Ryan Coogler, the director of Wakanda Forever, handle these same topics, but in a more impactful way. I wanted to connect with Jane and feel her pain, everything that she was experiencing with that disease, but it felt like every time we were about to have a heartfelt moment, they would throw in just a random joke and take away the weight of the scene. When she passed away, I didn't feel anything. The Thor movies to me right now personally are 50-50. I enjoyed Thor 1 and Thor Ragnarok was great. It feels like they can't really get their footing under Thor for some reason. I'm not sure. I think some of the best movies we saw Thor in was the Avengers movies and especially Infinity War. Infinity War was peak Thor, the right balance of comedy but also God level power. This movie, it completely failed Thor. The best thing about this movie was him getting a kid at the end and him giving his powers to the other kids to help fight Gorr the God Butcher. Other than that, everything else just fell flat. It seems like Taika Waititi was given free reign to do whatever he wanted on this film, and by the time it crossed Kevin Feige's desk, it was too late to scrap and fix this movie because it just did not hit the mark. Gorr the God Butcher. Now, Christian Bale showed up to work and clocked in every single day. He was acting in a completely different movie. He should have been in Moon Knight or something because his energy was not matched in this movie at all. We didn't see him butcher many gods. I just knew when they were in Olympus and he was showing up, I just knew he was going to wipe out like half of the gods there. Gorr looked so menacing in that trailer. I just knew we were about to get this deep philosophical villain who makes you question religion, but it was all like little breadcrumbs of that. We didn't just get the whole loaf, which is so weird because Taika did a good job with Hela. I don't know what happened. The jokes were corny, out of place, and the story felt like it was 2 or 3 different films going on at one time with different tones. Highly disappointed. Now the goats, the goats were funny. I enjoyed the goats. Number 7, The Eternals. Now, The Eternals was not a bad film. I just felt like it didn't get its point across well, and that's due to the fact of it was too many characters and not enough time to flesh them out. The Eternals should have been a very expensive Game of Thrones style Disney Plus show with at least 12 45-minute episodes. Bring Dan and Dave from the Game of Thrones universe with the same energy they had with seasons 1 through 6, and this would have been a damn good project. I understand that you invested a lot of money into the cast. You had Angelina Jolie, Selma Hayek, Kit Harington, people you probably had to pay a decent salary to get them all on board. And that was a failure to have all that talent at your disposal and not have a solid project. Angelina Jolie was great as Thena. My grandmother had dementia, which was similar to what Thena was struggling with. So that relationship with her and Gilgamesh, I just loved it. Makari and Druid, good stuff there. Good stuff. Barry Keoghan as Druid. He didn't get much time, but his presence was huge on the screen. And not to mention, y'all killed Selma Hayek. She was running around with a shotgun. Like, what? Kingo was great. Camille did great job in this role. Perfect. So I say that to say it's not a bad movie. It was my most anticipated movie of 2021. Everybody else was super excited for Spider-Man. Eternals was number 1 on my list for anticipation. Hopefully, they can start sprinkling these Eternals in different projects so maybe we can get some type of connection to them individually so their weight can be felt in the MCU. Number 5 is Black Widow. So Black Widow, depending on which day it is, can actually drop down to the number 4 spot depending on how I'm feeling. A lot of people did not like Black Widow, but I enjoyed this film. It suffered because of when it was released. If this movie came out right after Civil War, I think majority of MCU fans are having a different conversation about this movie. Marvel has trained us into this continuity storyline that has went over 10 plus years. So when you drop a movie that really doesn't fit in with the story at the moment, it kind of feels shallow. On the flip side, there was a lot of great things going on in this film. Yelena Belova, wow, what a great replacement as Black Widow. This movie, unlike the other two, I felt the emotional toll that these people were dealing with inside of this film. The connection, need, and desire for family that we felt from Yelena was radiating off of the screen. That's all she knew. We got to see why Natasha was cold and hardened to the core. I love the undertones of child trafficking. When those intro credits rolled, I was like, yo, what's really going on with this film? It surprised me. I was like, okay, this is a more mature MCU film opening, like straight on the nose. So, I enjoyed it. I don't know where we're going to see the Widows up next, but they're fierce. I'm ready to get them back into live action. Spider-Man's number 4 for me. And I'm probably going to catch heat for this, but honestly, this was the worst movie in the Tom Holland franchise to me. It relied heavily on nostalgia. I don't know if people who never watched those other Spider-Man movies could understand the feelings that this movie sparked. And to me, the MCU should be able to make a solid show or movie without heavily relying on the other products around it. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not bad. It's solid. We got to see a different side of Peter Parker. I don't think he's ever taken a butt whooping like OG Green Goblin gave him. Goblin was vicious, yo. In this movie, man, when Aunt May died, I shed a little tear. Like, I was sad because she didn't deserve that. It was so fun seeing Peter Parker outsmart Doctor Strange in the mirror dimension. Ned being able to open a sling ring was enjoyable because his granny kept saying, like, yo, we're a magical family. Andrew Garfield catching MJ. Oh, man. When I tell you, I really, really broke down in the theater. Like, it hit me right in the feels. But with that same Andrew Garfield scene, would I feel the same if I hadn't seen The Amazing Spider-Man 2? So that nostalgia is one of the things that make me shave a few points off of this film. However, this movie, unlike the Eternals and Thor: Love and Thunder, really tapped into my emotions. My nephew loved Iron Spider. Like, he loved that Spider-Man transition from just being Peter Parker into this new Spider-Man with Stark Tech. So when they completely stripped him down at the end and he had to start over with no technology, like, yo, my nephew was pissed. He was like, what? I'm like, yo, this is the real OG neighborhood Spider-Man. This is the essence of who Peter Parker is. So number 4, that's where I'm putting Tom at No Way Home. Doctor Strange is coming in at number 3. I'm going to get the bad out the way. First off, I do not like Michael Waldron. I don't know what type of witchcraft he has on Kevin Feige to keep getting these projects, but his writing to me is just, it's so underwhelming. So when we all found out he never watched WandaVision and then was able to go on and write a script about this movie, like, this is a direct sequel to WandaVision. I was like, wow, like, how did he get this job? Why did he admit that? So the writing on Doctor Strange was choppy. Now, Sam Raimi on the ones and twos with the direction was fire. Elizabeth Olsen in her acting was awesome. I like when directors actually care and are passionate for their work because this movie had so many elements of former horror movies in it. I loved it. I'm a big horror fan, so I caught all the little nods to some of the previous movies. Sam Raimi and some of the crazy things he was able to do in this movie was just wild. The musical fight was so creative. I don't know if Waldron wrote that in or if Raimi introduced that idea, but that was fresh and new. We saw influences of Terminator 2, Carrie, Night of the Living Dead, The Ring, and so many other movies. Now, there wasn't a lot of blood in this film. However, They let Wanda get down and dirty. She did some things I didn't think Disney would allow her to do. And one of the coldest things she did, which wasn't super violent at all, but it was her first attack on Kamar-Taj. When she was looking for a way in, she tapped the mind of one of the wizards. Like, yo, that was so fire. This movie has great rewatchability to me. Unfortunately, Doctor Strange felt like a side character in his own film because this movie belonged to Wanda. This movie should have been called Get the Hell Out of Wanda's Way because she was not playing fair in this film. I also think this movie had the strongest ad campaign out of Phase 4, like all the movies. Now, I think Wakanda Forever had the best trailer. Like that teaser trailer, no better trailer I've seen in a while. But the whole ad campaign for Doctor Strange was better. I like that they tacked the first trailer on to the end of Spider-Man, even though they made us feel like those movies had more connective tissue than they really did. But that trailer had me so hyped for the movie. Then they dropped that second trailer during the Super Bowl with Professor X pulling up in the chair. That had the internet going crazy. They also had a trailer when Wanda was talking about dreams and nightmares. This is it.
Every night, the same dream.
And every morning, the same nightmare.
So yeah, that was pretty cool. This movie really should have been released in October for Halloween. But yeah, I loved Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Wakanda Forever is number 2. This movie had so many things working against it. You lose your lead star. It's COVID. Production was temporarily halted. Every other week, it felt like something was going on with this film. So to see this crew come out and put this project in front of the audience was spectacular. My only con is leaving out of the theater, I felt like something was missing. It may have been T'Challa. I also didn't like that there was a lack of M'Baku in the film. Other than that, everything else was amazing. Shuri's character arc was done so masterfully. Angela Bassett deserves an Oscar nomination. The scene between her and Okoye in the throne room was outstanding. There was a portion of people seriously demanding for a recast of T'Challa. However, I was greatly okay with T'Challa having a son and continuing the legacy. Ryan Coogler had an impossible job and he done it masterfully. Namor was astonishing. Such a compelling antagonist. I can't wait to see his next appearance. Namora and Atuma were great second-in-commands. Their introduction on the screen and infusing the siren with the score was so terrifying. That slight glimpse of horror was so surprising. Ironheart brought the right amount of Chicago and comedic relief. She was a nice addition. Killmonger showing back up was always a big hope of mine. He's one of my favorite villains in the MCU. You can tell Ryan Coogler and this cast laid it all on the line for this film, and I hope it gets close to $1 billion. And coming in first place is Shang-Chi. Now, Shang-Chi, to me, is the best solo origin in the MCU, even better than Black Panther. Yo, I feel like I'm going to lose my black card for saying that for real. But I believe we do not get a Shang-Chi unless we have a successful Black Panther. I think Destin Daniel Cretton was able to take what Ryan Coogler did in the first Black Panther and do it slightly better. Not by much, just a little ounce, and that's a good thing. I think you should always want what comes after you to be better. Ryan Coogler should be proud. Destin Daniel Cretton doing Kang Dynasty was a dream come true. When that movie was announced, Ryan Coogler was my first choice, and then Destin. Destin was my number 2. And that's simply based on how he handled Wenwu. He was a villain similar to Namor who didn't take no crap, but yet he had a soft side to him as well. The relationship that he had with his wife, the intro was perfect. He got his butt whooped and said, yo, that's the lady I want to procreate with. We're going to make some damn good kids. Simu Liu as Shang-Chi was charming, gave off great energy. He was skilled enough to prove you're not going to run over him. He's a warrior through and through, no matter how soft his outside shell looks. most of his similarities come from his mother. Now, Xialing, on the flip side, leaned more so towards the energy of her father. He never really showed her much affection or attention, so it turned her into this hardcore, take-no-mess bad chick. Yo, I'll never forget the feeling of being in the theater and watch that kick that she gave to her brother's face for leaving her. I was like, oh, she's serious. Now, the only thing I didn't really like much was the inclusion of Trevor Slattery. I mean, he was cool, but once he went into that Planet of the Apes dialogue, I was like, yeah, y'all should have left him at home. But the fight choreography, the lore of Tai Lo, the soundtrack, and the cast was all on point. Visually, it looked great, and it was able to evoke emotion out of me, which is always what I'm looking for out of a movie. I'm not gonna lie, I shed a tear when Wenwu passed because I'm like, man, he's just a grief-stricken man mourning his wife and wanting his family back together. When I left the theater, I left feeling excited about the future of Shang-Chi. Will him and his sister get on the same page? Is he going to be hanging out with Wong? Will Xialing run into the other Black Widows and puff her army up? Who knows? But thanks for hanging out. Drop me a comment below and tell me what your rankings are. Peace out.